I remember back in high school, our class had this terror teacher in history. He was a veteran, very old school in his teaching style. You know that kind of teacher. Just hearing his last name already tells you everything about his reputation. At the start of the school year, we all submitted index cards with our names. He used them for his dreaded random recitations. Every time he asked a question, he'd pick a card. Your fate depended on whether he was satisfied with your answer. If he wasn't satisfied, he had follow-up questions waiting. It felt less like a class and more like an interrogation for a crime. You couldn't sit down until he was done with you. Back then, that 1-hour class felt like an eternity of intensity. I was tremendously lucky, though. Most of the time, my card never got picked. My classmates joked that I'd made a deal with fate. Until one day, we had a visitor. No announcement, no warning. Someone just suddenly walked in to observe the class. She was introduced right before class started. And that day, of all days, my index card was finally pulled from the jar. I still remember the question. Why is it important for people in government to get along with each other? I tried to stay calm. I didn't want to say something stupid, especially with a visitor watching every word I said. But while I was thinking, I realized this wasn't a question for memorization. It was a question about understanding life. I took a deep breath and said, when people in government have different agendas, the country becomes divided. How can they lead properly? And then my teacher smiled. Not a big reaction, just a small, satisfied smile, the kind that crinkles the eyes. He wrote something on my card and moved on. No follow-up questions. I felt this immense wave of relief as I sat back down. That was the first and last time I ever recited in that class. It felt like a real achievement back then. But looking back now, I think I understand why that memory stayed. Those youthful answers often point toward truths we understand much later. Because when leadership is focused on personal agendas rather than service, ordinary people feel it. Life becomes heavier than it needs to be. People lose trust. They become tired, disconnected, and cynical. You see it in the opportunities lost and the constant everyday stress. But when people in leadership genuinely work together, when competence matters, things move more smoothly. Life becomes a little less difficult. There's this quiet feeling that maybe a better life for everyone isn't impossible after all. It all starts with that simple understanding. Sometimes, the most important lessons aren't found in textbooks, but in the moments we realize our shared responsibility to one another.